Are you hesitating as you look at those soda cans lying around in the storage room, just waiting to be thrown into the trash? Starting with old soda cans, you can unlock a whole world of creative DIY possibilities. The tiny pull tabs from those cans can be recycled into all sorts of unique items, like stylish, one-of-a-kind jewelry. I'm going to show you an amazing way to use them. Ready to roll up your sleeves? Let's dive right in. Remove the pull tabs and set the cans aside, because in the next video, I'll show you how to make use of them. Of course, with just a small number like this, it's hard to make anything truly effective, so I'll need to gather a lot more of them, and I'll use them to make a battery. You heard me right. That's exactly what I said. It might sound a bit unusual, but these simple soda can tabs can actually be turned into a real working battery. I'll start by cutting the pull tabs into small pieces. Since they're made of aluminum, they're quite easy to cut with a pair of sturdy scissors. I'll carefully trim them into evenly sized bits so they can react better later when we assemble the battery. You can use either scissors or a pair of cutting pliers to do this. Just make sure to cut them into small, manageable pieces. It'll make the next steps much easier and more effective. After I'm done cutting all the pull tabs into small pieces, I'll gather them up and set them aside carefully. These aluminum bits will be an important part of the battery later, so I'll keep them in a small container to avoid losing any. Now that this part is ready, it's time to move on and prepare the next material we'll need for the build. Next, I'm going to use charcoal, a material that might seem simple, but it plays a really important role in this project. I'll start by taking the pieces of charcoal and breaking them down into smaller bits. To get the best results, I'll crush them into a fine powder, which will make it easier to mix and help the battery work more efficiently. I can use a mortar and pestle, or even gently crush them with a sturdy object until the pieces are small and uniform. Charcoal is great at conducting electricity, and when combined with aluminum, it can help create a chemical reaction that generates power. I'll prepare a few small pieces of charcoal, so they're ready for the next step in building the battery. Next, I'll make the body of the battery using a plastic tube. First, I'll measure and mark a section of about 15 centimeters on the plastic tube. This will be the main part of the battery where all the materials will fit snugly. Once I have it, I'll carefully cut it to the length I need and make sure the edges are smooth so nothing gets stuck or torn. This tube will act as a container that holds the aluminum pull tabs, charcoal, and other components together, forming the core structure of the battery. Next, I'll take two end caps of the tube. These will serve as the top and bottom of the battery, keeping all the materials securely inside. It's important that the caps fit snugly so nothing spills out and the battery can hold its shape during assembly. I'll start by marking two holes in the center of one of the plastic end caps. These holes will serve as the terminals for the battery. Once the positions are clearly marked, I'll carefully drill the two holes. Making sure they're clean and precise. These openings will allow me to insert the electrodes later, forming the positive and negative ends of the battery. Next, I'll prepare two pieces of electrical wire and two small screws. The wires will be used to connect the battery terminals, while the screws will help secure the wires firmly to the end cap. I'll cut the wires, leaving a small length of exposed copper cord each end. This exposed copper will make it easier to connect the wires to the screws and the battery terminals, ensuring a solid electrical connection. It's important to strip the right amount, not too much, not too little, so the wires fit perfectly without short-circuiting. I'll take one end of a wire and carefully wrap around the two screws. This will secure the wire in place and ensure a strong connection when we attach it to the battery terminal. Wrapping it tightly is important, so the wire doesn't come loose and the battery can conduct electricity properly. Next, I'll get a bolt and a nut ready to pass through the end cap. I'll connect the bolt to the wire. I'll wrap the exposed copper end of the wire securely around the bolt, making sure it's tight so that the electrical connection is strong and stable. This will form one of the battery's terminals, allowing current to flow properly when the battery is complete. Since the bolt is longer, it will make connecting the wires much easier and give a more secure fit for the battery terminal. I'll make sure the bolt goes all the way through the holes we drilled, then fasten it with a nut, so everything stays firmly in place. After finishing the battery casing, I'll now move on preparing the internal mixture. For the final ingredient, I'll use a lemon. The lemon juice is acidic, which will act as an electrolyte in the battery, helping to facilitate the chemical reaction between the aluminum pull tabs and the charcoal. I'll extract the juice carefully, making sure it's ready to be mixed with the other materials to complete the battery's internal mixture. I'll add all the aluminum pull tabs into the crushed charcoal mixture. Now I'll combine all the mixtures together. I'll carefully mix the crushed charcoal with the lemon juice. I'll add all the aluminum pull tabs into the crushed charcoal mixture. This allows the mixture to absorb the liquid evenly and prevents it from becoming too runny. I'll add the lemon juice little by little, stirring thoroughly after each addition. This way, the mixture stays uniform and every piece of aluminum and charcoal is fully coated, ensuring the chemical reaction can happen efficiently throughout the battery. I'll grab a smaller tube to use as a tamper and start packing the mixture firmly into the larger tube. By inserting the small tube and pressing down repeatedly, I can compress the charcoal aluminum blend, so there are no big air pockets and the materials make good contact. Now I'll start filling the mixture into the plastic tube. I'll add it little by little. Pressing it down gently each time to make sure it's packed tightly and evenly. This helps the aluminum, charcoal, and lemon juice stay in close contact, which is important for the chemical reaction that will generate electricity. I'll continue adding until the tube is filled to the mark, making sure the surface is level and compact before closing it up. After the tube is completely filled, I'll place the end cap back on and press it down until it fits snugly. I'll wipe any spilled lemon juice on the outside and let the assembly sit a minute so excess liquid settles. Now I'll use a multimeter to check the voltage across the battery's positive and negative terminals. I'll turn the multimeter to the DC voltage setting, then place the red probe on the positive bolt and the black probe on the negative one. After switching the probes, the value on the multimeter, I've marked the positive and negative ends on the battery to tell them apart. This will make it easier to connect the battery correctly later and avoid mixing up the terminals during testing or when powering a device. Now, I'm going to take this battery and start charging it. I'll connect it to a suitable power source, making sure the polarity matches the positive and negative terminals I marked earlier. I'll let it charge for a short while to help activate the chemical reaction inside and increase the voltage. During this process, I'll keep an eye on it to make sure everything stays stable and safe. I'll use a 5V charger to power it up. By connecting the positive wire from the charger to the positive terminal and the negative wire to the negative terminal, I'll let a small current flow into the battery. I'll only charge it for a short time to avoid overheating and to make sure the materials inside stay stable. After charging for about 30 minutes, I'll now check the battery. I'll disconnect the charger and use the multimeter again to measure the voltage across the two terminals. The multimeter shows a reading of nearly 0.5 volts. That means the battery is successfully generating electricity after charging. Even though the voltage isn't very high, it's a good sign that the reaction inside the aluminum, charcoal, lemon mixture is working and the cell is active. With a few more cells connected in series, the total voltage could be increased enough to power small devices. After about 1 hour and 30 minutes of charging, I checked again. And this time, the voltage reading is 1.6 volts. That's a clear improvement, showing that the homemade battery has stored more energy and the internal reaction is working effectively. It has the same voltage as a standard 1.5V battery. Now I'll test it with a small clock to see if it can actually power a device. I'll connect the positive and negative wires from the battery to the clock's terminals, making sure the polarity matches correctly. After a moment, the clock's hand began to move, proof that the homemade battery is supplying real power, just like a regular 1.5V cell. It's a great feeling to see something I built from simple materials like soda can tabs, charcoal, and lemon juice come to life and work perfectly. That's pretty impressive. For something made entirely from everyday materials, this little battery performs amazingly well. It's stable, powerful enough to run a clock, and shows just how effective a bit of creativity and DIY spirit can be. Who would have thought soda can tabs and lemon juice could turn into real electricity? In conclusion, this simple DIY battery proves that with a bit of curiosity and creativity, even ordinary items like soda can tabs, charcoal, and lemon juice can be turned into something useful. It may not match the power of commercial batteries, but it's a great demonstration of how chemical energy can be converted into electricity using basic materials. More importantly, it's a fun and educational project that reminds us how much potential lies in everyday things. All it takes is a little imagination and hands-on effort.